Coming up on this episode of 101 Sports.
Coaches' decisions cost their teams the game, and Brazil struggles to get itself ready to host next summer's World Cup.
Plus, our NBA experts play doctor, and our college football experts go head-to-head once again to make sense of the mess that is the BCS.
All that and so much more, and it all starts right now.
Hello and welcome to 101 Sports. I'm Ryan Ballack.
And I'm Jake Soder. Hey, Gene Chizik. Anything you can do, Gus Malzahn can do better. Here are your starting five.
Saturday may or may not have been the greatest day of college football in the history of ever. The day was highlighted by the Iron Bowl, in which Auburn decided to break physics. After officials put 1 second back on the clock in a tie game, Alabama attempted and missed a 57-yard field goal, which was miraculously returned 108 yards by Chris Davis for the game-winning touchdown. Jake, was this more of an incredible run by Davis or more of a mental lapse by Alabama?
Well, it was more of a mental lapse by Alabama, but in particular, Nick Saban. First of all, the guy who actually kicked the ball had attempted 2 field goals in his entire college career. Second of all, when you have the opportunity to put the ball in potential Heisman frontrunner A.J. McCarron's hands from the opponent's 40-yard line with no time left and attempt a Hail Mary, why wouldn't you do that instead of putting a kicker in who's attempted 2 field goals?
Potential Heisman and a guy who's won 2 national championships already. How do you not let A.J. McCarron just have a shot at a Hail Mary on a play like this? Just send it in overtime. If you give them a chance to have a kick return off a 57-yard field goal, I have no idea what Nick Saban was thinking. This is a guy who's arguably known as one of the smartest, best coaches in college football, and he just totally
blew on that one. Kneeling the ball, obviously, in hindsight would have been better, but at the time, probably would have been a better idea than doing that. It was a great day of football this Thanksgiving, highlighted by the primetime divisional matchup between the Ravens and the Steelers. But Steelers coach Mike Tomlin stole all the headlines when he seemingly obstructed Jacoby Jones' bid for a kickoff return, with the Ravens leading 13-7 in the third quarter. There's been a lot of controversy over whether Tomlin meant to interfere with Jones, and it's been rumored that the NFL is considering a 6-figure fine and the loss of a future draft pick. Ryan, if that's the case, is that a fair punishment?
This is a very intense punishment. I was really shocked when I saw this. I mean, the loss of a draft pick, I feel like we've never really seen that, especially for coaches. And I don't know if it's excessive, because honestly, I think this is a smart move by the NFL. I mean, clearly we've had issues with players and coaches being on the sideline. We saw it with the Jets guy a couple years ago, Sal Alosi. And now Tomlin doing this, whether it was intentional or not, this should not be happening in the NFL.
Well, I don't think it was intentional, but that's beside the point. The last time we saw a coach get fined 6 figures and the loss of a draft pick was Bill Belichick for Spygate in 2007. And so a pretty big deal to have that, to make that happen.
When you compare it like that, I honestly don't think it's nearly anywhere near what Spygate was.
To be honest, I really don't think he meant to do it. I don't think he would have been smiling like he was after the play happened if he sincerely meant to do it. But whether he meant to or not, I don't think it's a fair punishment.
And one thing is for sure, Mike Tomlin won't be anywhere near the field on next time Jacoby Jones is taking a kick.
For sure.
It was a weekend full of controversial coaching calls in the NFL and college football. In college, Michigan head coach Brady Hoke decided to go for 2 with the chance to defeat Ohio State instead of going to overtime, but fell short 42-41. And in the pros, Bears coach Mark Trestman chose to kick a 47-yard field goal in overtime on 2nd down, and of course missed. The Bears lost 23-20. Which coaching decision was worse?
Well, it's Trestman, but let's start out talking about Brady Hoke. I actually liked what Brady Hoke did. Going for 2 when you're at home against Ohio State, they're undefeated. Michigan really has nothing to play for.
Especially this season.
Meaning this season
so bad this
anymore.
Year.
So if you're going to try to knock off Ohio State, instead of taking it into overtime, might as well finish it in regulation. Now let's talk about Trestman.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously the worst coaching decision to kick it on 2nd down, to have that much faith in Robbie Gould, first off. To have that much faith in him from 47 yards is never a gimme. It's absurd.
To have faith from anybody on 2nd down for a 47-yard field goal in overtime in a game that's already could go either way. Clearly, just any mistake is going to lose you this game. And I just do not understand this call at all by Mark Trestman. I completely agree with you on Brady Hoke. I mean, Michigan was horrible this year. And Ohio State, I mean, they have now been undefeated the last 2 seasons. If you're the rival at home and you got a chance to dethrone these guys on senior day, how can you not take that chance?
Why not do it? Exactly. We're 7 months away from the World Cup, and Brazil is still dealing with complications in the preparations for the event. Last Wednesday, part of the stadium set to host the first game of the tournament collapsed, killing 2 construction workers. FIFA is investigating the incident and does not believe it will cause any issues for when the Cup starts in June. Ryan, is this evidence that not every country is prepared to host this kind of event?
I mean, yeah, this worries me, and this isn't the first story we've heard out of Brazil. I mean, we've heard refs being attacked, we've heard players being mobbed. I mean, this is ridiculous. This makes you feel like a very unsafe surrounding for Brazil, and Brazil is also going to host the Olympics 2 years from now. So I don't really know what the FIFA or the Olympics are thinking, but there are places all around the globe that have facilities and have enough people that can support these types of events. I just don't know if Rio
And
de
you
Janeiro
love
is
to
the
have
perfect
them in
spot.
places like this because if it does work out, it really seriously
variety
boosts their
is nice,
economy. It does,
right.
and it helps them if it works out. But no, not every country is prepared for this
And we're
kind
seeing it
of
with
thing.
the Olympics too, with Russia now. All this
Absolutely.
controversy with the gay athletes.
And it
It's
just so
ridiculous.
happens that Brazil is not prepared for this yet. Personally, I don't see how it's going to get done up to the expectations in 7 months in time for the World Cup.
Completely agree.
I just don't see it happening.
Sometimes the internet is a cool place. In an attempt to mock the MLB Hall of Fame induction process, Deadspin.com, a popular sports website, recently expressed their interest to buy a Hall of Fame voters' vote. Well, Deadspin got their wish, and a voter decided to sell their vote to the site. Deadspin will use the vote as a poll for the fans and will ultimately be decided by the site's followers. Do you like this idea that Deadspin is trying to mock the process by getting a vote?
It's a funny gimmick, and that's all it really is. But honestly,
It's a
it
combination
makes
by both
it
these
makes a
guys.
mockery of the whole
Yeah.
process. The MLB voters have a privilege that they should take very seriously. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to be
Oh, yeah.
able to vote somebody into the Hall of Fame,
but also-
and to give that up just like that. It makes a mockery of
Well,
it.
it also just makes a mockery of the whole process because the process itself is a joke. I mean, any writer, any beat writer, so a guy could be me or you that is just liked by his boss, gets a promotion, guy gets a Hall of Fame vote. But a coach or a player who's in the Hall of Fame or is one of the best coaches in the league, like Buck Showalter, a guy who's been around the majors forever, doesn't get a vote to decide who's in the Hall of Fame. A guy who actually is in the clubhouse with these guys, a guy who actually plays against these guys, and you're not going to give these guys a Hall of Fame. I like giving it to the fans more so than giving it to a beat writer, but still just makes the process.
Another
look
thing of
ridiculous.
note is that the person who's selling their vote has come out and said that they're going to release their personal information. They're going to show themselves after the whole thing is decided. So they're essentially ending their
Right.
entire career just for the sake of showing up the voting process, which is pretty interesting.
Coming up next, I will sit down with our NFL experts who will answer some hard-hitting questions from around the NFL. Stick around.